Welcome to The Critique. Today we're looking at the India-Seychelles Joint Vision, Seychelles Partnership.
A diplomatic statement from President Khomeini's visit to India.
It's a document with a high strategic ambition but some pretty low structural execution. So let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the document proposes this really compelling organizing principle.
The acronym Seychelles.
Exactly. Seychelles, sustainability, economic growth, security, and enhanced linkages. But then it completely fails to use that framework to actually organize the content.
That is the first thing that just jumps out. I mean, it's honestly a bit frustrating.
It is.
The writers did the hard work to coin Seychelles, which is clever. You know, it's the Creole name for the country. But then the text just abandons it?
Immediately.
It reverts to these standard, slightly dry diplomatic headings. Political exchanges, development partnership.
It feels like buying a high-performance sports car and then just, using it to store groceries.
It's a classic bait and switch. You're promised this vision built on an acronym, but you get a laundry list.
Just a list. And because it drops the structure, you get everything from ambulances to hydrography surveys, just listed one after the other.
There's no narrative. No buckets to put these things in.
And that places a huge cognitive load on the reader, right? When you have a list that jumps from renewables to digital transformation in these disconnected sections.
It just dilutes the whole brand. It means it's so much harder for anyone, a citizen, a journalist, to connect, say, the solar power projects to the bigger goal of sustainability.
The connection is completely severed. So the main suggestion here is to reorganize the entire document strictly under those 4 pillars.
Use the acronym.
Use the acronym. It would enforce that thematic consistency you need.
Let's talk about how that would actually work, because I think the economic growth pillar is the biggest missed opportunity.
Oh, for sure. You have this massive special economic package of $175 million.
And it's just sitting under a generic development partnership heading.
Right. It's a huge number, but where it sits, it feels transactional, almost like a receipt.
Exactly. Now, imagine if we took that and the Digital Public Infrastructure Initiative and put them directly under an economic growth header.
From this SL acronym.
Right. Suddenly, that money isn't just a donation. It's fuel for a specific pillar of national growth. It changes the frame from, here's some cash, to, here's an investment in your economy.
I see that. It definitely elevates the purpose of the funding. And what about the sustainability pillar? The document is all over the place with that.
It's so scattered. You have renewables on one page, grain transport somewhere else.
The revision would be simple. Just group the green public transport system and the International Solar Alliance projects explicitly under sustainability.
By grouping them, you create this critical mass. It shows you're not just doing a project here and a project there.
You're executing a comprehensive strategy.
Right.
And the people-to-people and parliamentary exchanges, they feel like such an afterthought, buried at the bottom.
A common mistake. You move those under enhanced linkages, the L in Seychelles.
And by doing that, you transform that soft power stuff into a structural pillar of the whole vision.
That's fascinating. It really proves that every dollar spent, like the $50 million grant, supports a specific pillar.
It's not just a monetary transaction anymore.
It turns a list into a logic, and that logic is what sells the vision to the public.
Speaking of the public, let's look at the economics. The material addresses the high cost of living, which is a critical pain point for citizens. But it seems to rely way too much on static donations.
Not systemic solutions. This is where it feels more like a press release than a policy framework.
Exactly.
It talks about a donation of 1,000 metric tons of grains, which is generous, of course.
A great gesture. But it's a short-term fix. And the text about the institutional mechanism to procure quality and cost-effective food is just so vague.
It has no teeth, not like the financial figures do.
You're left wondering, okay, what happens after the grain runs out? A donation fixes the problem for a month. A mechanism fixes it forever.
But you have to define the mechanism. Right now, the language is just bureaucratic fluff. Work together to institutionalize a mechanism. It puts you to sleep.
It does. So the suggestion is to sharpen that language. Focus on the systemic fix, not the one-time donation.
Use that same specificity you see in the financial section.
Right. So instead of what we have now,
What's a better way to phrase that? To make it sound permanent.
something like establish a fast-track procurement corridor for essential commodities to permanently reduce import overheads.
Fast-track procurement corridor. I like that. That sounds much more robust.
It implies an infrastructure change, a treaty on customs, maybe a dedicated shipping lane.
It implies the cost of shipping rice from Mumbai to Victoria is going down permanently.
Exactly. And we could apply that same logic to the health sector. There's a mention of the Jan Aushadhi initiative, affordable medicines.
Which is currently just buried in the health section.
Right, which makes it feel like a quality of care issue. But what if we look at it through the lens of inflation?
Ah, so you link Jan Aushadhi directly to the cost of living section.
Yes. That creates a much stronger argument. It shows the partnership is attacking inflation across multiple sectors at once, food and pharma.
It tells citizens, we are lowering your bills, not just we are giving you some rice and pills.
It shifts the whole narrative from we are giving you things to we are fixing the market.
Which is a crucial distinction. It's less like charity and more like economic engineering.
And that brings us to the overall feel of the document, the tone.
Right.
It heavily favors a benefactor and beneficiary dynamic, and that really undermines the whole stated goal of a partnership of equals.
This is something that really struck me. I think it's the most subtle but also the most damaging part of the draft.
The text is just saturated with President Hermini expressing gratitude. He's thanking India for ambulances, for a ship refit, for vehicles, for the grain. It's polite, sure.
Very diplomatic. But the weakness is that it completely overshadows Seychelles' own strategic contribution to India.
So passive. It reads like a thank you note, not a strategic treaty.
And it overlooks the fact that India relies on Seychelles. The document says Seychelles is a pillar in Vision Mahasagar. It's in the Colombo Security Conclave.
India isn't doing this out of pure altruism. They're doing it because Seychelles is critical real estate.
Exactly. So the suggestion is to reframe these sections. We need to highlight Seychelles' geopolitical leverage, create some symmetry.
Okay, so let's look at the defense cooperation section. Right now, it's just a list of gifts. India giving boats, giving training.
So how do you flip that script?
You lead with the Seychelles Hydrographic Unit and the JCM on hydrography.
Ah, interesting. Because hydrography isn't just about maps.
Not at all. It's about maritime domain awareness. It's about knowing the ocean floor for security, for submarines, for sensor placement.
So the revision frames this not as India helping Seychelles, but as Seychelles granting India critical data access that India needs for its own security in the region.
That changes the dynamic completely. It becomes a trade. We give you data, you give us patrol boats.
It's a partnership. Seychelles provides critical hydrographic intelligence, and in exchange, India provides the hardware to patrol those waters.
Exactly. And you can do the same thing with the UN Security Council discussion.
Yes, where Seychelles reaffirms support for India's permanent membership.
You have to emphasize that Seychelles' voice in the global south and among small island developing states. That's a diplomatic currency.
So India is essentially procuring that diplomatic support in exchange for development aid.
Precisely. If you frame it that way, the deal looks reciprocal, not charitable. It dignifies the exchange.
It says, we are small, but our voice matters, and you are paying for our support with infrastructure.
That's a much healthier tone for a joint vision. It elevates the smaller nation.
Okay, let's tackle the technology section. It talks about digital cooperation, but it relies on buzzwords. It doesn't articulate the user experience or the specific problem being solved.
It's the classic digital public infrastructure, or DPI trap. The text says India's rapid digitalization is a force for good and agrees to build DPI.
Force for good. It's a nice sentiment, but it's abstract.
The weakness is that it just assumes the reader understands what DPI means for a small island nation. It's missing the so what factor.
If I'm a fisherman on La Digue, what does DPI actually do for me? The text doesn't say.
Right.
So the suggestion is to anchor these digital initiatives to specific bottlenecks that are mentioned elsewhere in the text.
Like tax administration or health procurement.
Exactly. You have to connect the dots. The current text is just filler.
So let's use a concrete example. The document mentions SME promotion, small and medium enterprises.
Right. And we know they struggle with transaction costs.
So you link DPI directly to them.
Perfect. The revision could be something like deploying digital payment stacks to lower transaction costs for the tourism and fisheries SMEs.
Now that is actionable. You're taking a buzzword and immediately applying it to the lifeblood of the economy.
It tells the government why they should spend political capital on this. It's not just modernization, it's margin.
I like that. And what about the civil service training? The text mentions NCGG's civil servant training.
Right, which sounds like a generic HR seminar.
But if we link it to the digital section,
You frame it as training civil servants to manage the new digital governance stack.
yes, that ensures the human capital keeps up with the tech transfer. It addresses that fear of automation by saying, no, new tech means you get upskilled to manage it.
It makes the whole proposition concrete and focused on benefits, not just tech for tech's sake.
And you could even take it further. The health section again.
Jan Oshadi?
Exactly. DPI is crucial for that. You need a digital inventory system to manage affordable medicines so they don't run out.
That ties it all together. It links the tech to the health outcome and the cost of living issue we already talked about.
It creates a cohesive story where technology is the enabler for the other pillars.
It really highlights how interconnected all these issues are and how the document currently just keeps them in silos.
Which is so frustrating because all the raw materials are here, the money is real, the grain is real, the security cooperation is real.
It feels like the writers just had a checklist of deliverables from different ministries and just pasted them in one by one.
And that's why the SLSL acronym is such a tragic missed opportunity in this draft.
It was the perfect basket to hold all these different things, but they just left the basket at the door.
So really, the main task for the listener is restructuring and cross-referencing. It's an editing job, not a total rewrite.
The content is robust. The strategy is sound. It's the presentation that's letting it down.
Which is a much better problem to have.
A much easier fix.
Let's quickly recap the main feedback loops so our listener has a clear path forward.
Good idea.
First, structural discipline. You have to adopt the SESEL acronym as the actual organizing skeleton.
Force every single initiative from solar panels to parliament visits under one of those four headers: sustainability, economic growth, security, or enhanced linkages.
Second, actionability on the cost of living. Move away from vague mechanisms to specific systems. Use terms like fast-track procurement corridor.
And link the Affordable Medicine Initiative directly to the inflation argument to show you're solving the crisis, not just patching it.
Third, tone. You have to shift from aid to strategic exchange.
Rewrite the defense and political sections to highlight what Seychelles gives: data, location, votes, so the aid received looks like a fair trade, not a gift.
And finally, define the technology through its benefits. Don't just implement DPI.
Implement digital payment stacks for SMEs and inventory tracking for medicine. Always connect the tech to the user.
It's a heavy edit, but it really turns a press release into a proper roadmap.
It does. We invite you to resubmit the document once you've reorganized it under those Seychelles pillars. We'd love to see if the joint vision finally reads like one. Thanks for listening to The Critique.